Man, I don't know. We're learning. Don't worry about it. Hi, hello, hey, welcome. So, what's going on? I got tea. We're starting at 1:15 as per our adjustment to potentially doing this a little. I am really glowing. Hold up. Is that better? Hello? Hi. What's going on? We're dootin'. I'm figuring it out, alright? I haven't gotten everything, like... We're getting there. One day I might be able to do something. We'll see. Alright. So today we're talking about the Tucker Carlson versus Ted Cruz scenario, and like I'm sure all of you have seen like the major clips, but I'm sure the majority of you probably haven't actually sat down and watched the whole thing. And want to know why I don't think most people have sat down and watched the whole thing? Because the whole thing is 2 fucking hours long. Bro, it's 2 fucking hours long, and I already want to die. I haven't even started yet, and I'm already like, oh, good God. If you're here, and you're new, hi, I'm Chesh. Also, I'm assuming you kind of probably already know who these 2 people are. If you're not familiar with who these 2 people are, Ted Cruz is the senator of Texas. He's the guy who got memed on when Texas was going through, like, crazy snowstorms and people were dying because their power was out during snowstorms. Because he was on his way to, like, somewhere warm. I can't remember where. Coachella. Not Coachella. He was going somewhere. I don't remember where. Not Cuba. He was going fucking somewhere, and so he got memed on for that. Tucker Carlson used to be a news anchor. Then he started working at Fox News, and got... but before he basically got bullied off of being a news anchor by Jon Stewart. Cancun, yeah, that was it. If I'm not mistaken, he was on a show called Crossfire. The point being that, like, you're supposed to have a right-wing person and a left-wing person discussing issues in, like, a super fast, debatey styled show, which I want to say was on MSNBC. But I don't remember which station it was on. Anyway, they promptly got absolutely wrecked by Jon Stewart, which everybody seems to remember fondly, at the very least. Then he started working at Fox News. Then he got fired from Fox News. And now he's on YouTube. Because of course he is. So... we're going to talk about a couple of different things. We're probably going to also focus a little bit on some mainstream issues with mainstream media in America. But, let's get started, I guess. I have a fucking... Alright, let's go. You can't hear that. Lucky you. Did you just prefer to witness it that way, where you have to read it? Let me make sure that I can hear it. I should be able to, but let me just double check. I forgot to do this. Okay, there we go.
Conversation. It's good to be with you. So you've come out for regime change in Iran, as distinct just from taking out the nuclear sites. What does regime change look like in Iran?
All right, first fact check. They didn't take out the nuclear sites. Trump, putting it kindly, Trump kind of jumped the gun on that one, making that claim. They seem to, based on recent reports, which are a week out, seem to have only set them back because they were prepared and kind of knew what was going to go on. So they did some damage, but nothing major, and they certainly didn't destroy... They took out the old nuclear sites. Yeah, that's a good way to put it, Huckskull. The dementia in chief of America is not having a good day. Let's just put it that way.
Somebody else in charge.
How do you get there?
Look, that ultimately has to be a popular uprising from the people. And it's not a complicated question. Is America better off with a country that has a leader who hates us and wants to kill us? Or to have a country with a leader who likes us and wants to be friends with us? And
then why haven't you overthrown Putin? If that's your logic, why haven't you overthrown Putin in Russia? Putin hates America, and has for a very long time, and has been very, very vocal about it, and already has nukes. The logic here is, like, really, really bad, old school fucking, like, CIA, we're going to take out your democratically elected person and we're going to put in somebody, like, a fascist who's friendly, which is like, not on, this is something, like, America does on a semi-regular, like, regularly enough that, like, if I had a nickel every time, I'd have, like, I'd probably be able to at least buy a candy bar at this point. On the other hand, there's more than one way to make somebody who doesn't like you friendly with you. You don't have to do a regime change to do that. You could just, learn how to talk to people and learn how to negotiate. But, whatever. Feline makes a good point and says, why is the question... Let's see, the follow-up question is... How do we get there? Like, instead of... If it's best... If it needs to be done by popularity by the Iranian people, why do you need to do it with war? Like, there's a self-contradictory thing there. Like, you're forcing something, but also saying that as an outside entity, while also saying it has to come from the Iranian people, and then just bulldozing over the fucking top of that. But of course they are. It's Ted Cruz and fucking Tucker Carlson. You think they care about the Iranian people? Like, they don't care about Americans. Like, let's be real. Ted Cruz, again, flew away to Cancun while the people in his state were dying because the power went out due to his policies, and he's still the senator. The dude didn't even have the decency to resign.
Wants to kill us, or to have a country with a leader who likes us and wants to be friends with us. And
definitely the latter's better.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so that's...
But why would the Iranian people care about what's better for the American government? Why should they care? You just bombed them. You just fucking bombed them, dude. Hi, Honest Red. Good to see you.
Who likes us and wants to be friends with us. And
definitely the latter's better.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so that's not a complicated statement. Look, I believe you look across the world when you have...
I agree with that. That is definitively not a complicated statement. That is definitively a very simple-minded person statement. Hey, Sweet Pea, it's good to see you. And that was the question that Feline was trying to get to, yeah.
Have countries that have dictators that are viciously anti-America. Venezuela, Maduro hates us. Would we be better?
Russia. What about Russia? Russia. No? Okay. I mean, Canada's starting to get on that list too a little bit. You're pushing our buttons. Don't push our buttons. Oh, by the way, I did want to tell you guys. I should have brought this up beforehand. Canada, I posted this on Blue Sky, so you should be following me on Blue Sky, by the way. If you're not following me on Blue Sky, you're fucking missing out. I get up to all kinds of shenanigans on Blue Sky. Canada's also coming out with its own social media platform, which I think is fucking hilarious. So we'll see what happens with that, but I'm just gonna read this out real quick. There's an electric car that has been made with... It is more on non-zero emissions car made with nearly all Canadian components by a student, by a group of students at Carleton University. Carleton University is in Canada, right? So, and I just wanted to, like, point this out because, like, there is no, if you want to see it, but there is no Canadian car brand. Like, there's a German car brand, there's an American car brand, there's all kinds of car brands from different, like, and those companies are from different countries. For how much automotive Canada does, there is no Canadian car brand. So, if finally a Canadian car brand comes out, it's a fucking EV, and and it blows Tesla out of the water, and that's the first Canadian car brand, I'm gonna laugh my fucking ass off. Like, that's the funniest goddamn shit I have ever fucking heard in my life, and it's just like, mwah, perfect. Perfect. You guys have universities? Yeah, more than one, believe it or not. But yeah, you should totally follow me on Blue Sky.
Off with Maduro out of power? Absolutely. I want our enemies out of power, and I want our friends in power.
I could not agree more. The question is, how do you get there?
Of course.
And we've been trying to kill Maduro for quite some time. We have troops there, as you know.
I don't know that we've been trying to kill Maduro.
Yeah, we have. Oh. And I think you know that. And
oh, the spice starts early. I thought they were gonna, like, just jerk each other off for a little while, but Tucker Carlson's going into this already being like, don't bullshit me, dude. I wonder how much of that has to do with Tucker Carlson now running his own thing on YouTube. Like this is like the Tucker Carlson show on the Tucker Carlson YouTube channel. This isn't like Tucker Carlson on Fox News. So I'm wondering if there's like a degree of like, what's Ted Cruz gonna do about it? He's got no power here. Interesting.
I don't know that.
Okay, well, as a statement of fact, we have. So
we do have massive sanctions. We tried to pressure him out of office.
Yeah,
I'm
there's all
not,
kinds
not
of
aware
stuff.
of efforts.
I'm just saying there's a lot of pressure coming from various parts of the U.S. government on that government, and it's still there.
Yeah.
Same, the country of our ancestors, Cuba, 1959, we've been working on that. Hasn't worked. So it's I think we both agree it's hard to do.
It absolutely is hard. And look, I think you're reasonable to ask, how do we produce that? And I think there's a distinction between what your objective is and the means to get it. There are all sorts of things I would say we would be better off. We'd be better off in China without Xi there. Should we invade China and topple Xi? Of course not.
Better off with no national debt.
There are lots of things.
Totally.
But it's good to say, all right, what are our objectives? Right. And so with the Ayatollah in Iran, saying you're for regime change, I don't view as complicated. I mean, the guy...
I think it's weird for Tucker Carlson to just throw the debt in there because, like, the Republican bill is, like, adding a shitload to the debt. So he, like, I feel like, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that fucking Tucker Carlson is just kind of tossing, like, he's, like, shooting spitballs at Ted Cruz right now. Like, I feel like that's kind of what's happening. It's very interesting to watch, actually.
Literally leads mobs chanting death to America. Mm-hmm. So that's not good.
Definitely not good. But the reason I think it's important.
MAGA leads chants of death to fucking Vice President Mike Pence. And those guys got pardoned. MAGA leads chants of death to they will not replace us. And chants of, like, killing trans people. That doesn't seem to be a problem for you, Ted. So it's only as long... You're literally right now advocating for the death of this other guy for, like, political purposes. That's political assassination that you're discussing. So it's kind of, like, rich, I guess. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, you really think you're gonna be able to install somebody who likes America for any long period of time when you bomb them and overthrow their government without their consent? This is, like, something that, I think I've talked about this before, but this is something that I kind of struggle with as a Canadian, because it's like, it's not like we don't have our fingers in cookie jars. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna pretend we don't. But there's a very different, like, mindset about how Canada goes about it. So, like, for example, when dealing with North Korea, one of the things that Canada does isn't invade North Korea. What we do is we airdrop USB sticks of episodes of Seinfeld. And the reason we do that is because it gives North Korean people the opportunity to get information that is not directly controlled by the regime, by the Kim family. So they're able to get a view of the outside world and see, hey, maybe we're not all so different, and maybe your life doesn't have to be whatever it is, and you can make that change. It's the same with China. Canada's not going to there's never even been talk of Canada talking about overthrowing China, but Canadians might, support the Chinese people if they're fleeing or if they are being oppressed by their government or an outside government, like, for example, Taiwan, or if there was a large enough group of people in China that they overthrew their government. It's an airdrop about nothing, yeah. And they provide medical help. Right. So, yeah, it's... you don't have to, be like, we bring freedom, bah, 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 bah. Like, it's not convincing to people, you know what I mean? Ugh.
Important to get a little more detailed about how that might happen is because there's military action in progress, which we're supporting. And the president has said clearly, including last night, that he is focused on eliminating the capacity of the Iranian government to produce nuclear weapons. You are saying we need to use military force to effect regime change.
I have not said that.
Oh, I must have.
No, I have not said that once. Okay. I don't think we need to use military force to do regime change. I said I support it. I would like to see it happen. You asked me how should it happen.
What do you mean you support it and you would like to see it happen, but I never said that that I want that thing? What? Is Ted always this fucking... What? Sorry, I'm gonna say this again. He said, I don't think we need to use military force. He just supports it and wants to do it that way. Is that what I'm understanding? So we don't need to use military force, but let's bomb the shit out of those brown people? Is that what you're telling me? I have to listen to that again, because that sounded like that's what he said, and I just don't want to misrepresent him.
You are saying we need to use military force to effect regime change.
I have not said that.
Oh, I must have.
No, I have not said that once. Okay. I don't think we need to use military force to do regime change. I said I support it. I would like to see it happen. You asked.
Okay, we don't. Yeah, I was right. Okay, well, I'm not saying we need to use military force, but I support it and I want that to happen. So he doesn't think we need military force. I'm not American. He doesn't think America needs to use military force. He just wants to use military force. Hey, good to see you. Man, there's like a handful of people that I haven't seen in a while stopping by. Thanks for stopping by. Good to see you. I salute thee. I hope you had a good Pride Month. Shit's fucking crazy. We don't need to do it, but I just think it would be fun. Yeah, no, absolutely. What the fuck? My brother in Christ, you've got to be kidding me. Oh, how come this clip hasn't been fucking circling around anywhere? Like, just fucking warmonger Cruz over here. Like, what the fuck? Wow, we don't need to use the military, but let's do it anyway. Because I like wasting money. Huh? Huh?
Me, how should it happen? A popular uprising. What I've advocated for. All right, let's step back a second. You and I, we've known each other a long time. I would say we agree on about 80% of the things on Earth.
For sure.
And
that's a lot of things. 80% of the things on Earth is a lot of things. What about the things that aren't on Earth? Do you agree that the Earth goes around the sun? do you agree that Pluto is or is not a planet? Does that count? What the fuck?
There are a lot of things, and we can get into the nitty-gritty of foreign policy as much as you want. There are a lot of things on which you and I agree, not just a little bit, but violently.
I totally agree. I was rooting for you in your last campaign, for sure.
Well, thank you. Look, you have been heroic on the border. You've been one of the clearest and best voices in the whole country on securing the border and on the absolute crisis we're facing. And in Texas, I see it and live it every day. In COVID, in fact, you may recall, in the middle of the COVID lockdown, I was out walking my dog when the whole world was shut down and we were living in lunatic times. And I called you and said, Tucker, your nightly monologues are the single best thing on television. Like I watch them like an injection of crack. Okay, I'm mixing my metaphor because you don't inject crack, but you get what I'm saying.
Try.
No, I mean, you were standing up and speaking like, what the hell are we doing, in a way that we desperately, desperately needed. And so whether it's securing the border, whether it's the insanity of COVID lockdowns and the vaccine mandates, whether it is the Second Amendment or the First Amendment.
What the fuck are we doing? What the fuck are we doing? Why is this senator dick riding fucking Tucker Carlson, who was fired from Fox News? Like, so people could go outside during lockdown? Yes, people could go outside during lockdown. Go figure. Wow. Yeah, it's almost like fucking Ted Cruz have been lying, and the Republicans have been lying, and that the lockdowns weren't real, like, actual, you're physically locked inside of your house, which is insane.
You and I agree on a ton of stuff. The 20% where we disagree, I do think is meaningful, and it's mostly in the foreign policy space. And what I would say, if you'll allow me to get a little theoretical, and then I'm happy.
Oh my God, get to the point! Jesus Christ! Fart sniffing. Yeah, you were right.
I hope
get
you
specific.
will. Yes.
For a long time, people had perceived two different poles of Republican foreign policy. There have been interventionists, and those have been people like John McCain and Lindsey Graham, George W. Bush. And there have been isolationists. And the most prominent of those have been Ron Paul and Rand Paul, and there are others. And people perceive those are the two choices. You got to be one or the other. I've always thought both were wrong. I don't agree with either one. The way I view my own foreign policy.
I'm with you, by the way, for whatever it's worth. Yeah. I agree with you.
Okay, good.
I don't know who set up that binary, but there are lots of choices, actually.
I mean, people sort of naturally fall into, I think they want to classify people, and they're like, okay, you're one or the other.
The irony of hearing this coming from Republican Senator of Texas, Ted Cruz, of wanting to force people into a binary. Happy Pride Month, everybody! Oh, good God. Hi. Oh, I can answer this one. He's desperately trying to suck up to Tucker, so maybe Tucker stops incinerating him with basic questions. Yeah.
And you got to be all or nothing. And the interventionists, it seems, have never seen a country they didn't want to invade, and that doesn't make any sense to me. And the isolationists, I think, don't take the threats to America seriously, and I think that's naive, and it doesn't work. And so my view, I consider myself a third point on the triangle.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt him. Go on.
And what I describe that as is that I am a non-interventionist hawk, which sounds a little weird, but what do I mean by that? I mean...
Yes, thank you. Please tell me what you mean by that, because what the fuck are you talking about? Because it sounds like you just want to have, like, your thumb over top of everybody because you're big brother, and other countries are only allowed to behave in the way that you want them to. Slicks for 5 said, starting the gold train. Oh, hell yeah, let's go. The spices are out. Oh boy. Come on, Tucker, let's stick to the talking points. Yeah.
Central touch point for U.S. foreign policy and for any question of military intervention should be the vital national security interest of the United States. How does this make America safer? How does this protect Americans? If it does, we should be strong. And actually, another way of conceiving what I'm saying, I'm speaking theoretically, but Reagan referred to it as peace through strength. And actually, I think Donald Trump's foreign policy is very much what I'm describing, a non-interventionist hawk.
You can't do that when you're discussing the fact that he just bombed Iran without Congress and without any oversight, like, at all. He just did that for funsies. Because he was mad about his birthday parade. But, you know, one of the ways that you change people's minds about liking or disliking America in a foreign country is USAID. It's things like helping those countries stabilize and assisting them with famines or hunger or technologies that might be that maybe you surveilling everybody all the time with the threat of like the nuclear option doesn't really make people comfortable with you. Maybe it doesn't protect Americans. It's Trump trying to grab authoritarianism. Yeah, that's a good point. Like, this isn't, like, something that would protect America. Even what this hawk thing he's describing, it's not about protecting America. It's about controlling other countries. Right? Yeah, okay, yeah, he bombed Iran, but he did it in a very non-interventionist way. Oh, okay. I see. How is Trump, by the way, being non-interventionist when he's like, I'm gonna end the war between Russia and Ukraine by kicking Ukraine out and demanding minerals in exchange for peace? Also, I'm the one who stopped and intervened between Pakistan and India. Also, by the way, Israel, I intervened. Like, all he does is fucking stick his dick where nobody wants it. That is literally Trump's whole brand, is just sticking his dick where people don't want it. And in case you're a Trump fan, it's because he's a adjudicated sexual assaulter and a self-admitted sex pest.
He understands that, and I think this is historically true, the best way to avoid war is being strong. That weakness and isolationism, I think, encourages war. So,
that is literally the opposite of what Trump has been doing. The right-wing extremist MAGA movement is all about isolationism. And, like, national, like, everything needs to be made in America. Everything has to be American built. All the companies need to be American. We're isolating our allies and tariffing our allies. That's all isolationist America first and fuck everybody else is all, like, what do you mean, Ted? Are you blind? Do you not notice anything that's going on around you? Is this cognitive dissonance, or do you just not actually care? Like, what? I don't even know how to, like, explain this.
Going back to regime change, where you started in Iran.
I don't think I disagree with anything you've said, so we may not be that far apart, really, because you said that the single criterion for making decisions about America's foreign policy is America's national interest.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah. Which is also America first. That's another way of putting that as well.
I think it's the definition of it. Yeah.
It's hardly breaking news the U.S.
I guess. I mean, it depends, right? Because this is simple thinking for shallow people. That's what this is. This is simple thinking for shallow people. When you do goodwill and you earn goodwill, then people are more likely to be interested in benefiting you because, you know, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. But that seems to be too many steps for these people, so they're like, bomb Iran! Like, what? Like, again, things like USAID made America favorable to a lot of countries that otherwise would be siding and helping with Russia or China because Russia or China would take that goodwill and use it themselves, right? They would do it instead, right? So, like, holding a big gun to everybody's head is definitely not intervening. Like, that is, you're in fact making everybody aware that you have a giant gun that you're constantly pointing at their head and being like, I'm watching you. That is intervention. And, like, America's already given up all of its quote-unquote what people have described as soft power, right? It's soft power being like, hey, we have a lot of control over economics, we have a lot of control over military spending and, like, military contracts with other countries, and we have, like, this good reputation around the world of being, like, reliable and stable and X, Y, and Z. Now, America's been bleeding that away, hemorrhaging that for a little while, but regardless, like, the point is that's gone now. It's like, it's out, it doesn't exist anymore. So I have a hard time believing that this idea of hawk mentality is not intervening. It is 100% intervening. It's just intimidation, right? Like, the point is that you intimidate people by saying, peace through strength is don't attack me or I'm going to blow the ever-living fuck out of you and everyone in your country. Like, that's just a threat. That's just making yourself a threat. And trying to pretend that it's not is like, do whatever I say or else. Like, it's almost like this whole administration runs on a tu quoque. Bring that back and piss fucking Trump off super hard. Anyway, I'm gonna skip past what I think this is an ad. Yeah, okay. It's crypto! Obligatory crypto is a scam. Okay, there we go.
And from what you've said publicly, I think so I think we are. And from what you've said publicly, I think on Iran in particular, you and I disagree. And all right, let me contrast it when Obama was president. When Obama was president, you remember he talked about wanting to have military action against Syria. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I tried to keep an open mind to it. I said, okay, let me listen to the commander-in-chief, describe to me how this is in America's interest and what your plan is. And Bashar Assad...
Oh, you mean because you were a senator, you had a say in what the president decided to do when it came to wartime action and the use of the military, Ted? Is that what you're telling me? I need that, like, boom sound effect for every time I'm like, huh? Ted, I don't think you accidentally want to admit this. Why aren't more people talking about more of this? People should watch this whole thing. Good God.
Was a bad guy. He was killing his own citizens, and he had chemical weapons that were very dangerous.
And definitely America is not currently weaponizing its military against its own people. Wow.
I could conceive of a commander-in-chief laying out a plan for, okay, we're going to go in and say, grab the chemical weapons and leave. Like, I could see that if there was a real threat to America and there was a plan to prevent that, I could see supporting that. So I wanted to hear what he had to say. And I listened. Simple people. Simple thoughts for shallow people. Ted Cruz does not think that liberating another group earns anything for America and is not in America's best interests. He thinks the only thing that counts as something that to intervene on, that counts as a threat directly on American soil, which isn't, that's just stupid. That's just so, like, dumb. It's just so, yeah, Raphael over here. It's so fucking, like you didn't finish reading the paragraph. You could, like, right? You read the first sentence and then just went off instead of, like, actually, like, understanding the scenario and having any grasp of geopolitics at all. Right, like, and by the way, I don't understand what this contrast is. This contrast does not seem to be the gotcha that you think it is. It's your third time watching it? You watched the whole thing? This is your third time? Damn girl. Damn. This is what I mean when I keep trying to remind people that America didn't join World War III to liberate Germany or to fight the Nazis. That's never been, like, as much as they've propagandized that idea, that is literally never what America was ever doing. Did I say World War III? Sorry, World War II. World War II. God. I'm talking about fucking Iran. World War II. They didn't show up to fucking liberate people. They didn't give a shit. They were there because they got punched in the face. There was an attack on American soil, and they were like, well, now this is in America's interest. Because we got attacked. They didn't do it out of goodwill. They didn't do it because they cared about the stability of the world. Because they don't give a shit who's in charge. That's why they don't fucking talk about Putin. They don't give a shit about that. They don't give a shit about about Ukraine. listened both in classified briefings and public questioning. And number one, their public defense of it was incoherent. So John Kerry said, we're going to engage in an unbelievably small strike. I think that's a quote. I'm like, okay, and to do what? At the time, there were 9 major rebel Islamic groups in Syria. I'm like, okay, I agree, Bashar Assad's a bad guy. You topple him. And one of the 9 other groups takes over. 7 of them were affiliated with radical Islamic terrorism. You had Al-Qaeda and Al-Nusra. I'm like, wait, how is it better to have lunatics who hate us in charge? Assad's a bad guy, but I don't want worse guys in charge.
Listen, let the people in Syria suffer because it's in America's interest to not bother. We're totally fine with having an installed fascist dictator in other countries as long as that fascist dictator, however they treat their people, that definitely isn't our responsibility for installing them in the first place.
Obama administration couldn't give an answer to that. And ultimately, when you press them, John Kerry in particular, I pressed, and he would say, well, we need to defend international norms. Like, what the hell's an international norm? I don't know what it is, but
you're a senator of the United States and you don't know what an international norm is? An international norm is what everything was before Trump got into office before 2025 and flipped the whole ass fucking table. That's what an international norm is.
I'm not interested in putting U.S. servicemen and women in harm's way to defend one.
Amen.
So I opposed the Syria attack and opposed it vocally. And it was interesting. Rand and I agreed. Rand's a friend of mine. But we agreed with that position for different reasons. What I was asking is I think the question we should ask, how does this make America safer? The Obama administration couldn't give me an answer, so I opposed it.
I suspect that the Obama administration gave you an answer, but I think you might be too shallow to understand and simple-minded to understand the answer. That's my suspicion. I don't know, but that's what I would suspect based off of how he's describing this in every other scenario.
I think Iran is very different.
Let me ask what you think of how Syria wound up, because Bashar al-Assad now lives in Moscow.
Yeah.
He was taken out by our allies, and he's been replaced by a radical Islamist who was affiliated with ISIS. So is that a win or no?
Unclear. Look, Syria's a mess, so I've consistently opposed.
But we had a secular leader in a religious and ethnically diverse country. Now we have a religious extremist, Islamic religious extremist, who's overseeing the purge of Christians and Alawites. Is that better? That doesn't seem like a win.
One of the things you said is you said he was taken out by our allies. I don't think that's right. Israel didn't take Assad out. What happened, and I'll tell you.
What about Turkey?
Turkey didn't take him out. So it was interesting. I had a long...
How did Assad get kicked out? Yeah.
When Netanyahu was in D.C. a couple of months ago, he and I sat down for a couple of hours. He's a good friend of mine. And we talked actually about Syria. He made an interesting point that I've not heard anywhere else, in that he said he believes what toppled Assad was when Israel took out Nasrallah. Nasrallah was the head of Hezbollah, and they took him out. And he made an interesting point. He said it's fascinating how a charismatic leader, and Bibi said, look, Nasrallah was a very effective terrorist leader. And when they took him out, that power base was supporting Assad. And that ultimately, in Bibi's analysis, removed the support from Assad and toppled him. But they weren't...
I do enjoy that Ted Cruz has to rely on information coming from fucking the leader of Israel as if he's to be trusted. Netanyahu is a liar as much as Trump is a liar, as much as fucking Putin is a liar. So, like, I don't exactly, buy anything that this man is saying based off of his word alone. let alone, like, coming through third-hand information from fucking Ted Cruz. Like, oh, God. But it's interesting that Ted over here is totally fine with basing his entire analysis about what they're now doing in Iran, comparing it to something that happened in Syria when Obama was president, based off of information coming from Netanyahu. So, like, interesting how that all weirdly ties in together and ends up just being that Ted Cruz is not answering the fucking question, by the way. We're going on a long detour here.
Trying to take out Assad. My view now, I don't know.
So you don't think that, and I don't, it is very confusing, and I don't know that anyone really knows all the details, but you don't think that Israel or Turkey, our NATO ally Turkey, played any role in toppling Assad?
I don't know. I don't know that they did. Look, my understanding of that, they clearly took out Nasrallah and Hezbollah. They've decimated Hezbollah, but Hezbollah was waging war on them. So decimating Hezbollah was very good for Israel and very good for America, too. I mean, Hezbollah hated us.
If it's good for Israel, it's good for America. Why? I would love to hear a reason, because I keep seeing these people saying this thing and being like, we're America, we need to support our allies, but not Ukraine. We're America, we need to support our allies and fight against, like, terrorism, but not Palestine. Oh, we're Americans and we need to protect our allies. Only Israel. Why is Israel so valuable to America? Like, what does Israel do for America? Like, as much as Trump likes to be like, yeah, we subsidize Canada. No, you don't. You take our money. That's what you do. And and with the way Trump is acting, it's like protection. It's a protection racket. But, which we're dealing with, and that's fine. You Americans out there, you don't need to worry about that. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Just keep your 7-Eleven slushies going. You'll be fine. If you're subsidizing anybody, it's fucking Israel's military. So why? Like, you're it's almost like it's a foregone conclusion or a foregone fact that supporting Israel equals always benefiting America. Why?
I would put Assad in the category of an unintended consequence, and whether it's good or bad, I don't know. I think time will tell.
For the United States.
Yeah, for the United States. I think time will tell the new leadership there. You're right to be concerned. Let me step back and let's talk regime change generally. I mentioned Syria. I also oppose the Iraq War. I think the Iraq War was a serious mistake. And
I'm going to fact check that. Should I ask Grok? Did he say he was opposed to it, and he was, like, very vocal about that because jumps into Iraq discussion. This is from 2014, 06-18, so that would be June 18th. Ted Cruz broke his relative silence on Iraq on Wednesday evening, urging the U.S. to prepare to evacuate its citizens and warning against any deal with Iran. Texas Republican did not rule out some sort of military intervention in Iraq, but said anything that President Barack Obama decides, it must be in the best interest of the United States rather than for Iraq. Quote, we, ellipses, have to be very clear that any mission we might undertake in Iraq is directed to protecting the national security interests of the United States, not based on the oh my god. I'm just gonna make the internet say it for me. My brain is stuck.
Ephemeral.
Ephemeral goal of achieving political reconciliation in Baghdad, Cruz said, quote, whatever the history of U.S. intervention in Iraq, our priorities now should be to protect our people and defend our national security interests, not to try to resolve an intractable religious divide some 1,500 years in the making. So, he's rewriting history here, just by a brief search.
We have a pattern, and going back to this binary of the interventionist and the isolationist. The interventionists advocate over and over again, there's a bad guy, there's a dictator who's doing bad things to his people, and they say, let's go topple him. And you have dictators in the Middle East who are killing radical Islamic terrorists. We come in and topple them. The radical Islamic terrorists take over, and they start killing Americans. And
I think it's really ironic coming from somebody who's from the right-wing extremist national Christian groups, calling other religious political affiliation extremism unacceptable. Why is religious extremism unacceptable when it's any religion other than your own? So it's fine when Christians do it, but if it's Islam, they're not allowed to do it in their own country. Like, I don't like theocracy. I don't think theocracies are a good idea, right? I think that it fails. I think it ends up treating people badly. I think that it makes laws completely wishy-washy, and I'm all for having the separation of church and state. I am all for having a separation between your religious argumentation and having a secular way of defining and, like, believe whatever you want, but when we're talking about justifying laws and imposing those laws on people, we can't be using religious reasoning and excuses. We have to convince people through other means, right? But again, why is it your job, Cruz, to tell other people what counts, what religious extremism is okay, and why other people can't make a decision to have a different fucking system of government? It's almost like the system of government in Iraq, for example, or when it comes to religious extremism, was installed and fucking manipulated by other countries. And wasn't really a decision that they made because, regime changes, enforced regime changes, blah, 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 blah. Voting to go into Iraq war in 2002, 2% of the 49 Republican senators, one voted against the resolution. It was Senator Chaffee. So you're telling me that Ted Cruz voted to go into Iraq? Color me unsurprised. Because crusades are holy, but jihad is not. Oh, that's funny. I like that. Very funny.
in my view, how the heck does that help us? Like, Saddam Hussein was a horrible human being.
Then why did you vote for it?
Unequivocally bad guy. But it got much worse after we toppled him.
But you're literally arguing against isolationism, and now you're saying that no matter what's going on, America shouldn't involve themselves. No matter how badly the people are treated, no matter how responsible America may or may not be for that person's power and capability in that country after the fact.
And you ended up having ISIS rise up. I mean, that was the cause of ISIS, was toppling Saddam Hussein. Same thing in Libya. You had Gaddafi, another horrible guy, that under Obama, we toppled him. And you ended up having radical Islamic warlords taking over. And so, and it's the question I asked in Syria. Okay, well, what's the plan? And how is this good or bad for the United States? And so I don't think... With Iran, I view Iran as very different from Iraq.
But up to that point, you say we disagree. I don't hear really anything. I'm not quite sure what happened in Syria, but I don't know. So, right. But other than that, I don't hear anything I disagree with at all.
Yeah.
sounds like we're in a complete agreement. I wonder, though, is there a successful regime change that the United States supported that you're aware of?
That's a good question. Is there a regime change that America supported that was successful? That's actually a really good question. That's very funny. Oh no, let's let him ask the whole question.
Is there a successful regime change that the United States supported that you're aware of in the last 100 years?
Sure. Defeating the Soviet Union and the Soviet Union collapsing, winning the Cold War. That was the most consequential step for U.S. national security interests of our lifetimes.
Okay. What? Ted Cruz is giving America credit for the fall of the Soviet Union. I'm low-key surprised he didn't say Hitler. You can tell that America deserves credit for that, and with how much work they're doing to ensure that fall stays the same by being so hard on Putin and making sure to defend Iraq. Oh wait, defend Ukraine. Oh wait. oh wait. Oh no. Oh my god. Question, do you guys think, alright, before I hit play, do you guys think that Tucker Carlson is gonna give him pushback on this? Do you think Tucker Carlson is gonna be like, we didn't do that? One in the chat if you think Tucker Carlson is going to give him pushback. Two, if you think he's just gonna move on. I think he might give him pushback on this. I think one. I think he's gonna give pushback. I think he's gonna be like, we didn't do that. Alright.
And
so you would classify that as a regime change that we affected?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And
okay, he didn't give him total pushback, but he was like, what? I think Red Cedar's correct with 3. He didn't quite give him pushback, he questioned him a little bit, but then just moved on.
Look, you and I are in my office. We're sitting next to a painting of Reagan in front of the Brandenburg Gate. And
now we know what the inside of Ted Cruz's office is, and it looks absolutely ridiculous. Fucking Reagan, dude. Fuck. It's always Reagan. It always comes down to Reagan, doesn't it?
Up top are the words "tear down this wall" in German, in the style of the graffiti.
Right.
And I think those are the most important words any leader has said in modern times. And if you look at how...
Does Reagan count as modern times? Yo, neat, Reagan on a tourist trip. With friggin' eagles. That's the funniest shit. These things, these little eagles right here are the little fucking lamps that look absolutely fucking ridiculous. I wonder what book that is. I hope it's the Bible.
Reagan waged the Cold War. And Reagan is very much my model for how to... I actually think how Reagan took on the Soviet Union is exactly how we should take on China.
Well, it's bold of you to assume that Russia has the same mentality as this, or sorry, that China has the same mentality as the Soviet Union in like 1970. I don't think China operates quite like that or has that kind of mentality. I don't think the Chinese, like, ideology and sort of social structure functions quite the same way. But I I think this is just exposing a lot about Ted Cruz that I think people already knew. I think people already knew Ted Cruz was kind of a shallow dipshit that never learns anything. And I've outdated tactics, you say?
Now, starting from the point, look, Reagan was not an interventionist. In 8 years, the biggest country Reagan ever invaded was Grenada. He was very reluctant to use U.S. military force.
He didn't respond after the 83 barracks bombings.
You're right. Yeah, he made the judgment that the risk exceeded the benefits. And that's a very rational decision to make. And it's reflected. Trump has made those same decisions where he is willing to use military force, but he very much asks, okay, is this good or bad for America? Does this endanger U.S. servicemen and women or not? And one of the points about the Cold War, look.
Sorry, before you go off on a tangent here, Ted, how does that apply to LA? How does that apply to Los Angeles in California? How does that apply using the troops in LA? How does that apply to threatening Greenland? Yeah, Trump is totally doing deep cost benefit analyses. You're a tactical genius. Oh my god. Art of the deal! What about his military parade, Ted? What about the military parade and the cost of the military parade and the cuts to the VA? And cuts to the medical care for veterans and military support? And what about that there are citizens getting grabbed by ICE via military tactics via the military that are the wives and children of service members? Fucking Ted, was wiretapping citizens great for America and then getting rid of all the evidence? Yeah, good question. By the way, Reagan was no longer in office when the Soviet Union fell in 1989. Of course. Because of course these people fucking get everything wrong. Hold on, let me hold up. Comment section. Ted didn't calculate the cost benefit of doing this interview. Our politicians are complete dirtbags. As a German, thank you so much, Tucker, for exposing U.S. foreign policy. Tucker being forced out of Fox is one of the greatest events of this decade. Listening to politicians make me feel like I need to take a shower. I ran out of popcorn watching this. If you're not convinced that our own Congress is owned by a foreign government, watch this interview. Holy shit. Oh my god. Absolutely fucking roasted.
Nobody in their right mind wanted a shooting war between America and the Soviet Union. The two biggest nuclear powers on Earth firing bullets at each other is really unhealthy for human beings. Same thing is true with China. Nobody with any sense says, hey, let's go to war with China. That's really dumb, and a whole lot of people could die. But the Cold War showed we've got...
time, date, stamp this for when Trump threatens to go to physical war with China. I just make a note, everybody, please put that one on the board. Thank you.
Lots of tools short of sending the Marines to fight against a regime. And one of the most important tools is the bully pulpit. And so when I say I support regime change, I actually think just simply laying out what the Ayatollah does. And so I spend a lot of time, I speak to Iranian dissident groups. I speak out against human rights abuses. I think shining a light.
You speak out against them, but you don't care to do anything about it, so you're just admitting you're a keyboard warrior who doesn't actually do anything?
on the depravity of leaders is a really powerful tool that America has.
So clearly, Ted Cruz has been speaking out against America and Donald Trump using the military to oppress people in LA. He's been very vocal about that, right? And there's definitely not ICE agents running around with license plates that are from Texas. Right, Ted? Right, Ted? Have you guys seen those pictures? There's pictures of ICE agents' vehicles. And a bunch of them have fucking Texas fucking license plates.
Should we limit our activity to that?
It depends. Again,
because the U.S. government pays opposition groups, militarized opposition groups in Iran to overthrow the government. We've done that in a lot of different places, as you know. I'm not saying it's bad, but that's very different from what you're describing. You're saying we're making a moral case, as we did for 7 years with the Soviets. Our system works, yours doesn't.
Yep.
And I think we made a credible case for that, and we beat them over 70 years economically.
And that was a huge part of it.
Right. I think everyone would agree that was the main part of it. We didn't beat them in Vietnam or North Korea.
The main part of it, but it was tied to a military buildup. So I think it was two things. It was, one, the clarity. So Reagan came in and he described the Soviet Union as an evil empire.
Right.
This is supposed to be a question about fucking bombing Iran. Why are we getting, like, the worst history lesson ever where everything is wrong from Ted Cruz?
And all of the intelligentsia in D.C., all the Democrats, all the media, they're like, what a horrible thing to say. You can't say that. Reagan went to the United Kingdom and he said, Marxism, Leninism will end up on the ash heap of history. People were horrified. They asked him, all right, what's your strategy in the Cold War? He said, very simple. We win, they lose. And that was all viewed...
That's not a strategy. I can see why the rest of the world leaders were like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? If you want to, like, this is one thing that I get really sick of when it comes to listening to American politicians in particular, is they constantly are like, communism bad, Marxism bad, Leninism bad, but none of them ever say why. Like, none of them ever actually, like, elaborate as to be like, here were things that worked and things that didn't work, and here's why the system overall is not a good, functional system. They never do that. They're just like, buzzword, we said Marxism, therefore everything about it is bad and wrong, and then fucking all of the Americans shit their pants because they're all super, super brave and care about freedom or something. I don't know.
Dude, as sort of a Philistine simplicity. And I think it was exactly right. And laying that out, speaking... Do you know the backstory behind the Berlin Wall speech?
Yeah, I do. Yes.
You probably know Peter Robinson, who was a speechwriter.
Yes.
So 3 times the State Department deleted those words from that speech. And 3 times Reagan wrote it back. And the State Department argued, they said, Mr. President, you can't say this. This is too bellicose. This is too provocative. And my favorite, they said, this is too unrealistic.
It's not a strategy and it makes us look dumb. Ted Cruz, this was the most amazing words ever written in history of the world ever. Everybody else, wow, that's not a strategy, that's really fucking dumb. Ted Cruz war strategy, win the war. Brilliant! Oh my god, what is fucking wrong with these people? It's so ridiculous. It's just so absurd on its face. Like, I don't know, whatever.
Berlin Wall will stand till the end of time. And Reagan said, look, this is the whole point of the speech. And less than 3 years after Reagan gave that speech, the Berlin Wall was torn to the ground. And it wasn't knocked down by American Army tanks. We didn't shoot missiles at it. It was shining truth and light that tore it down. It was also...
Well, everybody better be thankful to America and wear a suit and make sure to say thank you to the United States.
Rebuilding the American military. It was what was then pejoratively called Star Wars, where the Soviet Union, their economy couldn't match our military buildup, and it bankrupted them. That's an example of peace through strength.
I wonder, I mean, is there anybody who is...
You do realize why, though, right? Like, why America was able to economically build up their military like that at that time frame, right? Like, right? Like, you know why, right? And that it had to do with, like, you know, the military-industrial complex and control of the dollar that America had a strong arm of in regards to things like NATO and the European Union and, like, the other countries that were buying American products, which you've now completely undermined. The industrial military complex and the industrial military strong arm or like position of power, stranglehold that America has had on the world is done. Like, it's gone. It does not exist anymore. So how are you going to do the same thing with China when everything that that you're quoting enabled you to do this thing you're taking credit for? It doesn't exist anymore. So if you were to use the same tactic now against China, it wouldn't work. Because one, other countries are willing to trade with China. Two, you don't have the fucking military prowess. Not economically, not fucking industrially, not mechanically. No, you don't have. It's gone. You lost all that. And this is disregarding that your scientists and your educated people are fucking in the process of fleeing your country, dude. If you look around, does this look like fucking America in the 70s to you? I don't fucking think so. You remember the space race, 1969? The space race that, the Soviet Union beat you at every fucking point except for landing on the moon? The Soviet Union hit all of those benchmarks before America did. America just got the moon part, the moon landing, the person on the moon part first. That was it. Everything else the Soviet Union got there first. Dog, fucking person, fucking return trip, all of that was done by the Soviet Union first. Good God. It's like he's like, oh, nobody knows how to read. I say whatever I want.
Alive in 1989 who wouldn't trade that America for the one we live in now. There's not one person, I don't think.
Oh, sure.
But I mean, just the basic metrics, debt, suicide rate, life expectancy. It was, I wonder why.
Not having the American military fucking attacking its citizens and kidnapping people. Yeah, it's probably, yeah. But people would also probably take, like, 2024 over that, or even 2020 over that.
After that victory, America didn't thrive in the way that we thought that it would, that I thought that it would. My family was involved in that. I mean, we were very focused on it in my house. Like, we won. And I wonder two things. Why didn't the United States kind of declare victory and make some sort of arrangement with Russia that allowed, like, mutual prosperity rather than continuing a Cold War? And second, I wonder why the United States didn't get a lot.
Because Russia hates you. You guys were talking earlier about just toppling any regimes that don't like you, so why didn't you topple fucking Russia? And why are you not even considering it now? Like, are you blind to the things you say out loud? I don't get it. I don't fucking get it. I don't know why Russia's an exception.
A lot better. Like, why don't we have better infrastructure? Why don't we have fewer homeless? Why do we have all these drugs? Like, if we won, why does our country look like this? I
don't know. Could it have something to do with Reagan's policies?
Across from Union Station this morning, as you do, I'm sure, every day. And all these people lying in the street and sleeping outside. It's like, what is that?
We're sorry to say it, but this is not a very safe country.
I mean, I do think it's a very fucking... This is not a very safe country. As he just talked about homeless people as if they're a fucking threat. Wow. A little bit tone deaf, but okay. Feline said they didn't even bother with North Korea after 1953. Yeah, that's a thing. Alright, let's fucking... Look, there's no doubt there are.
Really dangerous forces in our society. Some of it is politics and some of it is culture. And one of the mistakes people make in politics is thinking everything is politics. So the political answer, which I happen to believe, is we went much further down the road of liberalism. You look at Bill Clinton.
Yeah, human rights aren't politics, and who people are sleeping with aren't politics unless you force it to be politics. Culture, war, politics are only politics because you make them and force them to be politics. Who uses the bathroom isn't fucking politics. But who's the one who's responsible for that, Ted? You fucking dipshit. I'm gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna go refill my tea. We have been live for an hour, so I'll be back momentarily. I don't know, like, why do the people of Texas, like, keep, like, electing this dumb motherfucker? Like, he's very stupid. Oh, do they just not know he's very stupid? Like, I believe in my heart of hearts that the average Texan is smarter than Rafael Cruz. Like, I feel like you could go into Texas anywhere and point at a random person on the street and they'd feel more of a sense of responsibility to do a better job and be, like, at least a little bit fucking not so self-contradictory. Like, I think they would try, you know what I mean? Whereas Ted Cruz just seems like an entitled brat who feels like he like, deserves this position, and, like, he's fucking whatever, right? How many smart Republicans do you know? I mean, alright, listen, American Republicans? The bar is too low. The bar is too low! You know you can be a conservative and not be a fucking freak, right? It's possible, you can. But yeah, to be a right-wing authoritarian, like, extremist, you have to be stupid. You can't be smart and that at the same time. They're mutually exclusive. We don't cross the streams.
Who inherited the peace dividend of the Cold War being over and moved us more to the left, and then Obama accelerated it a lot. So there are lots of...
Oh, you're just gonna breeze over Bill Clinton's handling of the economy? That's interesting. Not that I'm a fan of Bill Clinton, but I'm not gonna pretend he didn't do a lot for America's economy.
I agree.
Bad economic policies, but I also think they're cultural things. You know, the
bad economic policies. Okay, hold on, huh? American economic, American GDP, per president. U.S. economic performance by presidential party Wikipedia. Second World War, here we go. Roosevelt, Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden. Interesting. Let's see. Reagan, 3.48. Then George Bush Sr. It's interesting that they say that, like, oh, Bill Clinton, it went from Reagan to Bill Clinton when it came to, like, the peace stuff, but they forget that George Bush Sr. was in office from fucking 1989 to 1993. Like, did they just forget about this? But you'll notice that Bill Clinton's GDP growth is higher than Reagan's was. Definitely higher than General Ford. Also higher than Richard Nixon's. Which was also lower than Lyndon B. Johnson and JFK. So, like, Bill Clinton was the last time there was, like, an actual... I guess Joe Biden's is pending. So we don't know this one yet. Trump was only 1.42 in his time in office. So, like, what the fuck is this man talking about? Ridiculous. Alright, anyway. I'll give you guys the link to this, so you guys can look into it yourselves. Alright, let's keep going.
The loss of faith,
I agree with all of
family.
That. I know what you're going to say, and I agree 100%.
Oh, the loss of faith and the loss of family. Yeah, alright, sure, yeah, okay. There's definitely not more Christian extremism in America nowadays than there was, so that's a loss of faith, right?
There's not one word that I would disagree with. All I'm saying is, like, I think it's important to step back and ask...
But I actually think Russia has...
It's okay, so this is something that I'm getting fucking irritated by, like, on and overall. Like, these two in particular aren't annoying me about it, but this is, like, a regular talking point that I see where it's just like, oh no, America has lost sight of faith and family, and they talk about faith and family as these nebulous concepts as opposed to... You know, you could have Social Security, you could do things in the economy, you could provide health care to pregnant women, you could provide maternity leave, you could provide insurance and health stuff to, like, enable families, you could do something about your adoption system. Abortion is fucking about family planning. Instead of, you know, your religious extremists bombing Planned Parenthood, education, all those things would help with building families and enable people to build families. Just because they don't match your little box. Remember, Ted Cruz was complaining about boxes and putting people in boxes. And faith is just a matter of people's personal belief. How are you measuring that, Ted? How are you judging and measuring individuals' relationships with Jesus? Because when you say religion, you only mean Christianity. You only mean the Christian faith. You're not talking about faiths of other religions of people that may or may not live in America. Look at the unemployment rate. Oh no. Alright, let's see, he was talking about Reagan, right? Negative 2.1, and Bill Clinton was negative 3.1. Joe Biden is 2.5. So for anybody who doesn't understand, this is the change in unemployment. So the negatives is the unemployment rate going down. Oh boy. Donald Trump, 1.7 up from his last term. Barack Obama, 3.1. George W. Bush down by 3.6. Good God. It's funny. Look, Republican. Oh, this Reagan. Actually not a negative, I guess. You could give him that. Negative Republican, negative Republican, negative Republican. Positive Democrat, positive Democrat, positive Democrat. Equal Democrat for Jimmy Carter. Positive Democrat, positive Democrat, positive Democrat. It's almost like, with one exception being Ronald Reagan, the Democrats are all doing positives for unemployment, and Republicans are all but one doing a negatives. Fucking wow. Mine Unfinished Journey for 222 said, hail Chesh and hail real family values. Yeah, like, that's the thing, right? Is that they talk about these things like they're just nebulous concepts that you can't influence or can't do anything about, as if there's aren't like legitimate policy you could do to enable families. It's fucking ridiculous. Why do you think they always point to Reagan? Because he's like the one guy who did the one thing a little bit maybe okay after Republican, and then immediately like, he didn't even do enough to undo the damage from the prior two Republicans. And he didn't even have to start from Republican stuff. He got to start with Jimmy Carter, whatever Jimmy Carter had started. And like, that doesn't apply to the fucking GDP growth. The GDP growth is still fucking like Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat, 5.3, sorry, 4.35 and 5.3 for two Democrats in a row. 4 for Truman. There's only one. Nixon came off of like a massive amount of growth and then managed to drop that growth down. Anyway, ridiculous.
There's very little to do with it. So,
well, that's kind of the point that I'm trying to make, which is, like, we're all sort of focused on beating our adversaries abroad, but what is victory worth if our own country becomes what it is now? And maybe...
You know, I would agree with Tucker Carlson if he framed that differently. If he framed that if our own people are suffering at home, how beneficial are wars abroad? That's a fair question, but no, you have to degrade the American people and what they're going through and what the administration that Tucker Carlson helped install is doing to it and doing to their people. Because he has to make it nebulous. What our country has become. What? In the last handful of months, you have your own army attacking your own people. You're cutting Medicaid. You're cutting VA benefits. That's your guy doing that thing. So to pretend, again, like it's some kind of nebulous thing, like what our country has become, why wouldn't you just say, if these wars are taking money and using tax dollars that we could be using to help families, you might actually have a leg to stand on. Instead, you're kind of just gross. And you're weaponizing fucking people's suffering to try to, like, what, push an agenda?
Maybe we're spending a little too much time focused abroad and not enough time focused on the people sleeping outside Union Station.
So, look, I absolutely think we need to focus at home emphatically, and we need to focus on prosperity. We need to focus on reducing the debt, reducing spending, empowering people.
With the bill that you just voted in, that adds a shitload to the debt? The big, beautiful bill? That one? That debt? Empowering people by kidnapping them off of the street?
Low taxes, small businesses, American free enterprise. It's the most
But you're only giving a tax cut to rich people.
powerful force for fighting poverty the world has ever seen. I'm 1,000% there. I also recognize
Cutting taxes doesn't get rid of poverty. That's standard of living. How much does somebody working full time? I've done this before. I'll do it again. How much tax if somebody's working full time, minimum wage in America, and they're making $7.25 an hour? How much are they paying in taxes every month? Right? So let's say that would put them at what income tax bracket? Well, 175 multiplied by 40 hours a week, multiplied by 4 weeks in a month, right? That's $1,160, right? $1,160. So let's say you're paying $100 in tax, right? Is that reasonable? $100 in tax? Is that too much? Do you want to call it $60 in tax? What's the... Let me just find out what the actual number is. So this would be like the lowest tax bracket you could be in as a full-time worker, right? Now I'm going with the 2024-2025 tax bracket. Federal income tax remain unchanged for both 2024 and 2025 years at 10%, 12%, 22%, 24%, 32%, 35%, and 37%. Income threshold for each bracket and filing status are adjusted slightly every year for inflation. Okay, so it's by year. Oh my god. All right, so there's 12 months in a year, so we're going to take 1,160 multiplied by 12 months. So we're going to call that 13,920. So that would put us, here's the bracket. Sorry, let me show you. This is the bracket that I'm looking at. Let's say you're single, so your tax rate is you're over 10%, so you're at 12%. Right? So now we just got to figure out what is 12% of 13,920. I need to write that down, sorry. 12% of 13,920, right? So that'd be a total of $1,670.40 in taxes for the whole year. Right? Does that make sense? So you'd have to... How much... So that means you're bringing home... I hope I got that right. Let me know if I did that wrong, but the number is 1,670 and 40 per year. That's per year, right? So if you pay no taxes and you're in that tax bracket, if you got rid of 100% of your tax, like you stopped paying taxes, how much would that do for your life? You're making $1,670.40 extra per year. So if you were to then take that 1,600, let's say you divided it over, like equally over 12 months, divide it by 12, right? That's an extra $139.20 a month. 139.2. So if you get a 5% tax cut on your 10% of taxes, you're only getting 10% of 1,670.4. Right? Because you're getting you're not getting a cut of 10% of your taxes off of 12 and then only paying 2%, you're getting a 10% cut to the number that is already established. So here's the thing. I think that I think there would be a lot of people who'd be absolutely grateful to get an extra, like, let's round it to $140. I think there'd be a lot of people who'd be really grateful to get an additional $140 a month. But is that going to fix poverty? No! You know what that's gonna enable you to do? How much did I say the original total was, right? It was 1,000... What did I say? The original amount of money was... what? I've forgotten now. 725 multiplied by 40 hours a week multiplied by 4. 1,160. So 1,160 minus, what did I say, the 10%, or the percentage, would be, they're taking off 100, what did I say, 139.2, minus 139.2, right? So right now your take home would be $1,020.80, right? $1,020.80. So if your take home is 1,020, and everywhere to rent, remember we looked this up, the lowest fucking place to rent an apartment is 1,100. So you would have enough to pay for your rent and maybe a snack now, I guess. Would that mean you're not in poverty anymore? You might be able to pay for your rent and part of your electricity bill. Is that said? And that's if you took out 100% of taxes. 100%. Because that would put you at $1,160. Let me pull up cost of rent in America. Average rent. $1,761 for 904 square foot. That's average. See if I can find the median. Here's one that goes by cities. The median is 1,633 plus $8. This is January to May of this year. So how would not paying any taxes bring people out of poverty? How does a tax cut solve this problem, Ted? It doesn't. It doesn't solve the problem, dude. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but a tax cut does not solve your problem. At all. Turns out selling all the land and homes to corporations was a bad idea. Oh, don't worry, that's gonna get worse. A bunch of your national parks are all for sale now.
Is a dangerous world, and part of the responsibility of leaders, part of President Trump's responsibility, is to keep America safe. Let's go back to where we started.
But can I ask,
Iran.
you've been in the district a long time in D.C., so have I, and the city's way more dangerous, and Congress runs this city.
No, it's a complete crap hole.
So I'm saying, like, no Iranian's ever going to kill me, but I could get carjacked here. And I just don't understand how the Congress could run this.
Well, yeah, but that's nonsensical. But, like, what city are they in? Are they in Houston? This is Ted Cruz's office, right? I'm assuming Ted Cruz's office is somewhere in fucking Texas, right? It's Dallas. Okay, so let's look up the crime rate for Dallas, Texas. Dallas, Texas is listed as 3% safer than 3% of U.S. cities. This is the crime rate per 1,000 residents. Let's check real estate. Median home fucking value. Home prices are high for Texas and higher for the nation. Brother. Rent market is nearly $2,000 per month. Ted, you fucking asshole. How are you, as the senator in Texas, going to do anything about this, my guy? Over 50, like, ownership rate is fucking below 50%. And you have fucking zero rental options. This is less than 10% vacant. This is literally the city that he's talking about right now. Oh, are they talking about DC? These numbers are really bad, Ted. Maybe you should do something about it. Should we check Washington, DC? Washington, DC crime rate. Let's find out. Let's see what this one says. Here's a date-to-date crime comparison. -7, -49, -23, -26, -25, -10. Motor vehicles are up by 3%. -7, -5, 0 arson change. -4, -7. As compared to -32, -25. This is 2024 we're looking at now. -27, -39, -35, -5, -25, -14, -2, -64, -11, -15 total. It's almost like crime was going down more when Biden was in office. In DC specifically. But what they're talking about is homicide, right? 2023 to 2024 went down 274 to 179, as opposed to 2025 so far, which was at 85 and went down to 79. So maybe, Raphael, check your fucking numbers, dude. This isn't the facts and feelings group who just have a vibe that they feel like they're in danger. Maybe do you feel like you're in danger because you're a threat to the people that you serve? Like Ted Cruz is actually a fucking, like, violent towards his constituents by, never updating or doing anything to fix the fucking issues of Texans dying due to failed electrical infrastructure, and is directly responsible for those people and their families' deaths during that time. And during a crisis, he fucking was fleeing to Cancun. And so maybe the reason Ted Cruz feels like he's threatened in his own city is because he is actually a violent threat, and the direct cause of death for many of the people in his constituency? Maybe? Maybe?
City and focus on the dangers of Iran when the city is like garbage.
Okay.
It's garbage.
But Congress doesn't run the city. We could.
Congress does run the city. It's in the Constitution.
It's in the Constitution, but they've given home rule, so it's a Democrat mayor who runs it.
You control the Congress.
I'd vote for it. But it is a question of math.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like, why? How can
I literally just showed you the math.
people ignore? It's like if my own kids are drug addicts, but I'm focused on my neighbor's kids, it's like I'm neglecting my own kids. And there's a sense in which the Congress is neglecting the country that elected them in favor of this relentless focus on other people's problems. That's the way it feels as an American.
Oh, what about the facts? This is the... It was broken. At least it wasn't me this time. the cord came undone. Oh no! Oh no! Anyway, I was saying this is like the facts and feelings crowd, right? The facts don't care about your feelings. The vibe about whether or not you personally feel safe doesn't mean anything. The vibe about whether or not you personally think the city you just chose to live in is a shithole or not, which you're describing Washington, D.C., by the way, or you're referring to Dallas, I don't know, maybe you're talking about somewhere else, I don't fucking know, I just did my best, without looking at the actual numbers to see that that's actually not the case. So you're telling me you have a massive increase in homeless people, but you don't have a massive increase in crime. So maybe homeless people aren't dangerous, and you framing them as such is kind of disingenuous, dehumanizing, and cruel? And that maybe if you want to talk about the math, and you say, well, we spent X amount of dollars bombing Iran, and doing a military parade for your despot of a fucking president, maybe if you use that money to, I don't know, funnel into social services and housing, maybe it might help deal with some of your problems. Again, it's not an existential, oh, we don't care about family and we don't care about faith for homeless people. The problem facing homeless people is they don't have houses. It is a one-to-one incredibly simple equation. You don't have a house. Here is a house. And nobody's saying it has to be a mansion. It doesn't have to be like fucking Stoneway that fucking Pierre Poilievre is fucking squatting in right now. It doesn't have to be catered. But like just a basic fucking apartment building. You know there are other countries that do this, right? Like, other countries do this successfully. No, man. I have a thing for this. I think I have it on my phone. 1 second. Let's see. Oh, maybe I put it in here. Hold on, let me check this. No, it's not that. Ah, here it is. Ta-da! Austrian city of Vienna, more than half of its residents live in some form of subsidized housing. Slavic, I'm not gonna try to pronounce that, family was growing. Slavicia? Salvis, sorry. I don't know. Family was growing, so she did what anyone when living in Vienna would do. She asked the city for a bigger apartment. At the time I was pregnant with my first kid, she said I lived in a 2-room apartment. It was an okay building, but it was small for us. She went on an online portal, entered her income and requirements, and was ranked alongside thousands of other residents. Soon she was assigned a new apartment, a 3-bedroom unit with a brand new building adjacent to Vienna's central station. It's hers for life. She can even pass it down to her children if she wants. Wow. Slavica? Is it Slavica? Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm sorry, I don't know languages at all. I barely read English. Go fucking figure. It's almost like you can do this shit and it's not a big deal. And these people aren't fucking criminals. And they're not leeches on society like America likes to make them out to be. Wow. It's almost like we could do this, and there's no reason why we can't do this. And nothing's stopping America from doing this either. And look, you can keep it green and keep it like fucking so it's not, it doesn't feel like it's fucking blocking you in, and it doesn't feel like it's like a giant fucking heat map. Ugh.
Look, there are lots of problems in America that we need to fix. Why is
Yeah, no shit.
is D.C. a pit? Because you have a mayor and a Democrat city council that won't let police officers arrest bad guys. And in every city you see across the country, whether it's New York, whether it's Chicago, whether it's L.A., whether it's San Francisco, if you have Democrats, we see the L.A. riots where they won't.
Bro, these aren't riots in L.A. Your guy sent the military and escalated it. Outside of his power to do so. On top of that, the fucking crime rates in DC are down, not up. And on top of that, if you look at like these different democratically run cities and you compare crime rates, you want me to pull that up too? You guys want to pull that one up? Crime rates America by What do you want to do it by state? Wow. The violent crime trends are down from 2021 to 2022. Property crime rates. The cities for murder. Baltimore, Maryland, Detroit, Michigan, Memphis, Tennessee. So what year was this? 2022? Oh, this was posted 2024, so as a whole, Americans believe crime is getting worse and the issue is sure to rank among the most important in the 2024 elections. Despite the widespread concern, crime is not equal across the nation. Each year's Safe Home analysis dig into the latest FBI's Crime in the United States reports. This year we determined which cities have particularly high rates of property and violent crime compared to other cities with similar populations. Here are some key findings. Most violent crime decreased in the United States in the most recent reporting year, but property crime rose 7% nationwide. Motor vehicle theft rose most significantly, increasing by 11%. Baltimore surpassed Detroit as the deadliest large city in the nation. Among cities with populations of 500,000 or more, it had the highest per capita murder and robbery rate. Among the largest cities, Seattle and San Francisco had a high property crime rate, leading the nation in burglary and larceny, respectively. So not violent crime, like fucking Ted Cruz is saying. Salt Lake City, Utah ranked first for rape and larceny theft among small-sized cities, and I'm going to go ahead and define rape as violent crime. Cities, as opposed to property crime, like a lot of people like to treat, and Republicans like to treat women like property. Cities such as Spokane, Tukwila, Kent, and Tacoma, Washington ranked in the top 3 for all types of property crime, not violent crime. Go fucking figure. And here's the numbers. And here's the numbers. And here's the numbers. So, you want to say that it's the mayor's fault and whoever is in charge of the city? Okay, Baltimore, Maryland, who's the mayor? And what's their political party? Brandon Scott is the mayor of Baltimore. What's his political affiliation? Oh, he's a Democrat. There you go. Hey, I got you one. Congratulations. What's the next one? Detroit, Michigan. Mike Duggan. Independent. Okay, well that one doesn't work out. What else you got? What else we got? Memphis, Tennessee. Jim Strickland. Ah, Democrat. Ooh. So let's take a look and do the next set, right? Memphis, Tennessee congressman is Steve Cohen, who is a Democrat. You have Detroit, Michigan. I believe Michigan is Democratic, or is a Democrat. Who's your congressman? Sherry. Where there? I don't see a Wikipedia. Wait, what? I'm getting conflicting. Oh, here we go. Ta-da! Also a Democrat for Detroit, Michigan. My unfinished sock for 2 said, "Don't oppress people via fake riots. Like and share." And then let's go Baltimore, Maryland. Don't worry, I've got a point. Elijah Cummings. Ta-da! Who is Democratic. So now let's do the fun part. Let's look at the American political map. Oh my god, just give me a fucking... I just want a zoomable map. Let me just... Please, just give me a zoomable map. I just want a map that I can move around and zoom in on. No, nope. This is... No, I need a political... Come on, I need a political map. Oh, you suck! Wait, why is this suddenly hard to find? These maps are everywhere. I need it labeled, is my thing. Okay, here we go. This one should work. Is this readable? Yeah, oh yeah, here we go. Alright, so, let's take a look. What do we have? We were looking for, let's double check. What were we looking for? Baltimore, Maryland. Where the fuck is Maryland? Is this Maryland? This tiny little fucking speck? And then you got Detroit, Michigan. Michigan's over here. Michigan's right there. That's Democratic. And you have Memphis, Tennessee. And Tennessee is right here. It's almost like it's not as fucking straightforward as red versus blue, my guy. It's almost like Columbus, Ohio, Denver, Colorado. Colorado is right here. Ohio is red. Colorado is blue. We know Tennessee is red. We know Michigan. We know Kansas is red. Kansas is right here. That's for aggravated assault. Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania was red this year. Pennsylvania's listed as blue here. I thought Pennsylvania went red this year, but whatever. Burglary, Seattle, Washington. Over here. Blue. Ugh. California, New Mexico, and Tennessee, both red. California, Tennessee, Oregon. There's Oregon. Tennessee again. It's almost like voting red or blue is not the thing that's going to be definitive. It has to do with population, it has to do with policy, it has to do with social structure, and whether or not infrastructure is being put in place. There's Oregon in Portland for motor vehicle theft. Non-violent, 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 violent, violent, violent. Oh, sorry, I wouldn't say robbery is necessarily violent. Aggravated assault and rape would be violent, and murder is violent. And you do also know that these are places currently being attacked by your own countrymen, right? And again, this is only counting populations over 500,000. So it's not including the crime rates of all the other little cities. Right? So what happens when you do crime rates by states? For all of the states. Well, according to Wikipedia, this is the fucking violent crime rate in America, dudes. Wow. It's almost like it's been consistent and barely moving. Go figure. Yeah, no, to be clear, this one that I looked at only includes cities with with a population of over 500,000. So it's not actually including a lot of Republican areas, because a lot of Republican areas don't have this size of a population of a city. Here's crime over time. This is property crime, guys. It's going down. It's on a downward trend. This is property crime. This is larceny. This is motor vehicle theft. This is this is burglary, and this is motor vehicle theft. These trends are downwards. So why is it when you're living in the safest fucking time in history in your country, why do you think it's so dangerous everywhere? What's telling you that? Where are you getting this information from? Look at this! Bonk! 9 out of 10 cities that are 500k plus are Democratic. Right. Oh, look at the arrests rates. Like, violent crime, downward trend. Homicide, right down here. Robbery, downward trend. Aggravated assault. That's about to fucking change. That's about to change quite a bit. This is going to 2020. This is about to go fucking crazy. Arrest by age, males, 2016 to 2022. Sorry, to 2020. Gendered female, 2016 to 2020, 50,000, 100,000, 40,000, 300,000, 200,000. Weird. Weird. And it's almost like both of these are really low when it comes to fucking murder and arson. Really low. Assault is at 300,000. Assault for women doesn't even break 100,000. That spike, that's when the war on drugs was enacted, yeah. This one? The violent crime spike because they started the war on drugs or in and around here. Go figure. Arrests rates from 2012 to 2018 in Texas specifically. U.S.-born citizen, legal immigrant, undocumented immigrant. The undocumented immigrants are doing the least amount of crime in your country, you fucking psychos. Ted Cruz is Texas. This is 0. Property crime is almost fucking 0, guys. That's like 2. What the fuck? United States crime rates. Firearm death rates. Guys, firearm death rates ages 1 to 19. What the fuck are you doing? The US accounts for 97% of gun-related child deaths among similar countries, despite making up only 46% of the group's overall population. Homicide victimization rates by race. It's nice to see a downward trend on fucking homicides directed at black people. Gun-related deaths. Homicide, suicide, total. Suicides are on an upward trend. Homicides are on a downward trend. Facts don't care about your feelings, guys. Remember when I pointed out that all of these ones happen to be fucking Democratic? And then fucking highlighted this amount? And then we went and looked at the actual fucking total numbers instead of, cherry picking something? Homicide rates. 15 high-income fucking countries. My brother in Christ! Police recorded violent crime rates per 100,000 population. Austria, Germany, England and Wales, Scotland, the United States, and Sweden. Homicide rate at 5.0. This is fucking America topping that list. Again, per 100,000 population. 44.4 in 2018. Nearly topping this list, but apparently Sweden had a lot of fucking rape going on. Jesus Christ, what the fuck, Sweden? Assault, 270. That's over 100 more than the next nearest one. Well, yeah, at 183. It's nearly double. 133. Again, topping the list for robbery. Scotland's got a lot of assault, holy shit. Hey, listen, you won this one, guys. You got a lower assault than everybody else. Good job. Australian homicide statistics include murder and manslaughter. Attempted murder is excluded. Murder rate in brackets. Sorry, Australia. Did I say Austria? This is Australia. UCR rape statistics do not include sexual assault. Well, NCVS does. Furthermore, NCVS defines sexual assault to include, as well as sexual touching with or without force, verbal threats of rape or sexual assault, as well as rape, attempted rape, and sexual assault that isn't rape. Wow, it's almost like the reason why this number is lower is because your definition doesn't include a lot of fucking shit. International homicide rate. Should we compare this to the political map? No? Huh? Huh? It's almost like comparing them to the political map is a little bit of a non sequitur. Oh, look at this. The rape statistics by country. Wow. It's almost like the United States is fucking massive. United States topping the fucking list of rape cases. Good job, America. I'm so glad you're so good at this. Yay. You win. You win something. What do you win? Forced pregnancy. Yay. United States, 141,486 rape cases in 2022. The next one up is the United Kingdom, and that's at 73,590. Bro, let me get that calculator out real quick. 141,486 subtract 73,590. That's a difference of 67,896. And yeah, remember what we just read that said America has a very limited scope of what constitutes rape, which means that number, if you were to use the definition that they use in the UK, would skyrocket. Skyrocket! Then France, Mexico, Germany, Colombia, Peru, then Sweden, Argentina, Chile, Netherlands, Denmark, El Salvador, Romania, Austria, Finland, Japan. Japan's only got 655. Switzerland, Hungary, Greece, Puerto Rico, Estonia. Canada's not even on this list. Yeah, France and Germany both have more strict definitions that include more things and less narrow definitions than the United States does. If I'm not mistaken, there are states in America where marital rape isn't a thing, right? Am I mistaken about that? Correct me if I'm wrong. Firearm homicides, property crime, fucking America, the darkest color on the map, which, greater than 100 guns per people. This is guns per capita. Burglary rates. Human trafficking. Guys. Maybe what Ted Cruz is saying here is complete fucking horseshit. More than 100 guns per 100 people? Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna call it there, because that was a lot and it's been 2 hours and we have a lot to cover. But I didn't want to let Ted Cruz get away with just fucking bullshitting these numbers like that, as if you couldn't just go and look. Like, anybody has access to this data. You can go and find it. I'm in another country and I have access to that data. Go fucking look it up for yourselves. Go fucking learn something. The riots in LA are not riots. That's not happening. That's a lie. It's a fucking lie. And half the shit that Ted Cruz is saying here is a fucking lie. And fucking Tucker Carlson nodding along so far like the fucking muppet he is when he fucking knows better. It's fucking ridiculous. Play the Oompa Loompa thing. No, they don't get copyright struck. I can't play the Oompa Loompa. Oh, you mean like on the recorder? No. I don't know. I'll try to learn it, I guess. Leave a comment down below of what song I should learn on the recorder to play for outros. Okay, bye! Fucking shit, dude. These people are crazy. I don't fucking know, man. I don't fucking know.
Fuck that guy and his fucking YouTube videos. Stop listening to a man who doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, you idiots!